places
Chicken
that
would go where?
Come on.
I was trying to make everybody separate.
Okay.
It's the building.
Well, I guess I go here, you'll first sign up here. Well, then up 69.
Just got that. No. We gotta remove it.
Just because you're running.
Two. Yeah.
Call the April 15th, 2024 Polk City Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. Roll call.
Hankins,
Here.
Bowersox.
Here.
Vogel,
Here.
Olfest,
Here.
Sires.
Item 3, approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 4, approval of P&Z Commission meeting minutes for March 18th, 2024.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes, March 18th, 2024.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 5, Kennedy Rural Plat of Survey. Anyone with a developer would like to speak on it? Yeah, podium, please state your name and work address.
My name is Patrick Schultes. I'm a licensed land surveyor with Midford in Inky, and our address is 335 Southeast Old Labor Road. Essentially, what we've got going on with this Kennedy Crocker survey is right now, the way the properties are set up is that the Crockers are occupying part of the Kennedy property, technically, and have been for some time between them and the previous owners. And essentially, what Kennedy is going to do is to deed over the land that's being occupied by the Crockers formally to them. Where it kind of cleans up the lot lines a little bit. I don't have a picture right now to show you guys, but
Okay, I got it right
Yeah.
here, so.
yeah, essentially what you have is you have the North Woods Lane comes in and goes across the Crocker Kennedy property, kind of half and half almost. But essentially that road goes down to the Crocker's garage. And the southerly parcel, I don't remember if it's parcel 2023-180. Essentially that's going to be the road parcel that's going to be transferred to the Crockers. And then we have a westerly parcel that is essentially it's grassland and ravine is also going to be transferred to the Crockers from the Kennedys. And then out along Northwoods Lane there, we're also doing an ingress easement for the two properties to help alleviate some of those access concerns as well.
All right. City engineer report.
As part of this, the developer has, the property owners have submitted record of lot tie agreements as well that will tie these two parcels together, and they are noted on the platted survey as being non-buildable, and all property owners involved are aware that neither of the parcels can be split again without a formal platted subdivision. And we would recommend approval of the platted survey.
Okay. Any public comment on the item? Questions or comments from the commission? No?
Pretty straightforward.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we recommend to council approval of platted survey for parcel 2023-181 and 2023-182, known as the Kennedy platted survey.
I second.
Roll call.
Bowersox,
Yes.
Vogel,
Abstain.
Olfest,
Yes.
Sires.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Item passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. Item 6, Sunrise Ridge Plat 1 rezoning petition for 36.58 acres from R1 to R1A. Developers, state your name and address, please.
Thank you. Dean Roger with CDA, 4121 Northwest Urban Drive, Ohio. Here on behalf of Rock Equity Holdings. Corey Grusman's also here in the crowd tonight. If you have any other questions that I can't answer. This is the Sweet Breeze property, just east of Monarch, just south of Northside Drive and just west of the Young property. 36.58 acres from R1 to R1A is a request. The total site is 57 acres approximately. So this is just rezoning north 36 and a half acres to R1A. We've got over 95% of the surrounding owners' consents, and it conforms to the low density residential future land use plan from 1 to 4 units per acre. It's proposed for single family housing. The site to the east of us, the future land use is proposed for medium density residential to the east. Ron Stone property, I think I said, yeah, Ron Stone property to the east is medium density residential, so it provides a little bit of a transition into that. That's basically it. You have to answer questions now or later.
City engineer report?
We would recommend approval of this rezoning. One oddity that you may notice is a bulk of the buffer is within the county, and it's not within city limits. And so as such, any properties outside of the corporate limits do not count against the consent percentage. So you may, if you look at the diagram itself, it may look like those numbers are out of whack, but it's because the only required consenting signatures are in the city. And so that's where the 95.95% comes from.
Any public comment on the item? Can you step up to the podium and state your name and address, please?
Don Brill, address 1312 East Northside Drive. I must be the 5%. It looks like. Question I had when I got my notice, it's dated, stamped March 18th, and I got it Monday. So I don't know, is that how that happened? I mean, I was able to get here tonight, but I just thought maybe, I didn't know how much notice you get when you're having something like this, that you're notified. But it's stamped on here, March 18th, and the post office stamped it April 5th.
I can answer that question.
Sure.
We're holding them back playing cards?
I am supposed to mail them out on April 5th based on the date of the meeting. The date of the postage was ran by the developer. They have to turn the envelopes into me,
Oh, okay,
and they pay for the postage.
okay,
So sometimes they give me stamps, sometimes they give me pre-stamped envelopes.
okay,
That was this case.
okay.
So then they're held here until
That Monday,
that Friday.
that Friday.
Yep, so it can get out 10 days,
Is
basically.
that your time frame, Jenny, 10 days?
Correct.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'll learn something. I guess I'm not against the zoning part of it. Obviously, if any of you've ever been part, when your property touches something like this, you may have questions. You know, I'm a home builder myself, so I get it, you know. Chases the deer away, now we get geese, so I guess I'm okay with that too. But I like to see, you know, what's gonna happen around me after this becomes, you know, approved, which I'm in favor of that. But I'd like to know how it's gonna attach to butt up to my property, you know. I'm kind of the donut hole, because if you notice I'm on the other side of me, and that's already going. So I kind of like to have an idea. Maybe I've reached out to Tom to get a plat map of, you know, what the lots are going to be like for various reasons. I may want a couple of them myself to build on, and I'd like to know how it's going to touch my property. You know, so.
We would be happy to share the preliminary plat with you once we have that document.
How long do you think that might be?
So the rezoning would have to be approved, which is going to be, if it were to be approved tonight, it would go to the next city council meeting to set the hearing.
That'd be next month.
So next Monday, they would set the hearing, and then the first meeting of May would be the first reading, and then it would be that meeting plus 2 more, and then the rezoning would be approved. Then the preliminary plat would be sometime after that.
So
That would be June 10th.
Yeah.
June 10th,
would be the third reading,
yeah.
and then sometime after that would be the preliminary.
Maybe that's why Tom hasn't got it to me yet, because maybe he needs to go a little deeper.
I can speak to it, I mean, I'll speak for you if that's okay. I'd be happy to share the concept plan with you, we could even talk after the meeting and show you what we're thinking. We've got a concept, so
Okay.
be happy to get your number and.
Could I give you my card tonight?
Yeah.
Because I get to go to a church council after this unless you want to do this. That's all I have to say.
Excuse me,
Thank you.
could you just point where your property is on the map there?
I'm the little corner right here.
Okay,
Number
okay,
4.
okay,
Yeah,
thank
number
you.
4. They're already developing,
Okay,
they're already developing this part here. I just don't know what's gonna come out there.
okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Commission comments, questions?
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we recommend to council approval of the Sunset Ridge Plat 1 rezoning petition for 36.58 acres from R1 to R1A, subject to engineer and staff's comments and write-up.
Second.
Roll call?
Bauersacks,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Olfest,
Yes.
Stires,
Yes.
Hankins.
Yes.
Item passes. Thank you. Item 7, Big Creek Commons Plat 2 rezoning petition for 7.35 acres from R1 to R1A. Developer report. State your name and address, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Send those down the dice.
Sorry.
Not hand them to you tonight. Chairman Vogel, members of the commission, Tom with Map Properties at 5,000 West Town in West Des Moines. So the map I'm handing out, I wanted to show you a little more of the big picture. You know, the request on the agenda, of course, is to rezone approximately 7 acres along 7th Street from R1 to R1A. But in looking beyond that, if you look at this map, I've got the green and the red ovals. The areas in red, we're showing 80-foot lots where we've got ample depth there. Typically on an 80-foot lot, we like to have at least 150 feet of depth. You know, those houses get bigger, and so we have some rear yard. Along 7th Street, it's a narrow band there. Unfortunately, the maximum depth we can get on the west side is 125 feet, and on the east side is 130 feet. Better suited for 65-foot lots. The way things space out, we'd have 66-foot wide lots on the west side, some 68-foot lots on the east side, the lower part of 7th Street, and then on the north part of 7th Street, northeast side, have some 73-foot wide lots, based on how that spacing works out. Excuse me. What would lot prices be for lots in that category? Probably in the $100,000 range, which I would say portends houses in that $400,000 to $600,000 range. So. And then looking at the big picture, we've submitted a preliminary plat. We've submitted construction drawings for this plat, and we're looking at a bigger picture, and we've been talking to Chelsea about a possible mass grading project for the park. So this is a first step to kind of kick all that off. Glad to answer any questions.
Just a quick question unrelated to the rezoning that's in front of us tonight, but if you hand me a diagram, I'm gonna look at it and probably ask you something else on the diagram. In the area to the red, the R1A district further to the right, I guess, where the red ovals are, it's not real clear with the resolution on this diagram that there's a corridor for the bike trail up through, like between lots 48, 49. Is that still where it's going to be?
Yes, you can, it's kind of faint, but it is. on
Okay.
the 30.
Okay.
It would essentially come out of the southeast corner of the regional park and then connect to the existing trail driveway shared situation as it approaches.
Okay, great. And when this came to us previously, the current resident that lives where it says lots generally 80 by 150, it was unclear whether that lot was going to be accessed via the corridor to the south or whether he would have an access point to the north and west. How did that ever get resolved?
I believe the intent is to serve it to the south.
To the south,
right?
okay.
Yep.
So it'd be shared with the rec.
Okay. Yeah, and I believe there is a standing piece of board.
Okay. Sorry about that diversion.
No, not a problem, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we recommend to council that they approve the rezoning request for Big Creek Commons Plat 2 for 7.35 acres from R1 to R1A, subject to city engineer and staff comments dated April 10, 2012.
Second.
Roll call?
Olfest,
Yes.
Stires,
Yes.
Hankins,
Yes.
Bowersox,
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Item
you.
passes. Item 8, Antler Ridge rezoning petitions. 2.017 acres from R2 to R1, 0.116 acres from R2A to C2, 50.144 acres from R1, R2A, and R2 to R1A. Name and address, please.
Jake Mills Associates, 1933 Southwest Magazine Road, Maine. We are proposing 3 different rezonings. 2 are cleanup rezonings and 1 rezone. The cleanup rezonings are just so that the zonings match the proposed property lines. We have 2 additional areas for R1 that total to will bring the total to 22.843 acres. And then the commercial property, we extended the line to what would be the center line of the street this time. And then the third rezoning is changing areas of R1, R2, and R2A to R1A. Are there any questions?
Do you have any comments or anything, Dan?
Yes, so as Jake alluded to, 2 of these are cleanup rezonings to match previously approved preliminary plat, the lot lines, and then the plat that's later on the agenda. The lot lines have not changed. The reason for the third zoning change was based on conversations that we had with the developer. It's our understanding that initially he had wanted to put some sort of bi-attached townhomes in the R2A zoning district. And since then, that the market for those has changed. He'd like to convert to a single-family residential development. And by rezoning to R1A, that makes administration of the zoning code as well as the rules and regulations a little more consistent with what's actually being shown in the plat versus the other solution would have been an R2A restricted zoning for single-family developments, or single-family homes. So in our mind, the R1A is the cleaner option. It allows the developer to construct lots as he currently wishes, while allowing city staff to have a clear administrative path forward in measuring setbacks, reviewing site plans, and the like. As part of this rezoning, just so that you're aware, there will need to be a comp plan amendment. That was going to happen anyway, just simply because when the original preliminary plat went through, the comp plan got amended, and so the changes, we just need to make sure that the comp plan and the future land use plan is shown to match proposed uses with the preliminary plat. That doesn't have any bearing on it, but I did want the commission to be aware that there will be a comp plan amendment required.
Well, that's that medium density going to low density area.
Yep.
Yeah. Right next to commercial.
Correct.
Well, the R1A does have smaller lots. So it's technically not medium density, but it's
Correct.
it's not R1. I think originally that was to be a buffer medium density, but I guess I don't have a problem with that. I just want to make sure I understood that correctly, because you said that didn't meet the intent of medium density. Probably for that reason.
Yeah.
We will make that little buffer in there. We have a smaller, still a R1A, which is a small, which I think will be sufficient to handle that.
And although it is changing some of the future land use, it's changing some of the documentation, the lots are the same.
Hmm.
It's just that there'll be fewer dwelling units on it.
Right. Okay, that's,
And I would have to agree with your insight, with the smaller lots there. What would cause me concern is if, we were changing the land behind an existing resident to be commercial or to be something different, with this being, a prairie land.
right.
I'm a bit more open to these ideas. Should we make any motions? Do you need 3 separate motions?
Yes, please.
Okay. See, I'll make a motion that we recommend to council that they approve a rezoning petition for Antler Ridge for 2.017 acres from R2 to R1 to be considered a cleanup rezoning, match lot lines, subject to engineer and staff's comments dated April 10, 2024.
Second.
Roll call?
Battersox,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Olfest,
Yes.
Sayers,
Yes.
Hankins.
Yes. I'll also make a motion that we recommend the council approval of zoning petition for Antler Ridge for 0.116 acres from R2A to C2, which is considered a cleanup rezoning to match lot lines, subject to engineer and staff comments dated April 12, 2020.
Second.
Roll call?
Olfest,
Yes.
Sayers,
Yes.
Hankins,
Yes.
Battersox,
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
And I'll make a motion that we recommend to council approval of the Antler Ridge rezoning petition from totaling 50.144 acres, starting rezoning from R1, R2A, and R2, all to a future zoning of R1A. This is best described in document title RZ R1A, dated November 9, 2023, provided in our packet this evening, all subject to engineer and staff recommendations and comments dated April 10, 2020. The document I referenced was that.
Second.
Roll call?
Wolfest,
Yes.
Sires,
I'm still awake.
Yes.
Hankins,
Yes.
Bowersox.
Yes.
Yes. Item passes. Item 9, Antler Ridge amended preliminary plat. Developer report?
Yes, preliminary plat has been updated based off of the new zoning and also removing the right turn lane that was originally put on Northwest 44th Street at East Red Cedar Drive. After the original preliminary plat was approved, we received a final report from Snyder stating that that turn lane would not be needed. So it has.
Engineer report?
And then the only other amendment worth noting is that your packet does include an phasing plan with the developer's current best knowledge, just for the commission and eventually the council's information. That phasing plan is subject to change, but that gives you a better idea of how they plan to break the rest of this development down.
My only question on that was I saw the commercial was phase 8. Is that just because they aren't actively pursuing commercial at this point?
It just needed to fall into a phase, and at this point, phase 1 is currently under construction. Phase 2 is going through review, the city staff at this time, and phases 3 and 4 have been submitted. The developer's biggest plan is they would like to get the sanitary trunk sewer to the property down. And so most of the utilities are on the west side. We'll extend them to the east.
It's also my understanding, typically in a mixed use development like this, the commercial follows the house or the house. That's just kind of the nature of you got to have the customer base there in close proximity. Actually, commercial space.
Yeah, makes sense. That was just our hope that would develop quickly, but I understand. Yeah. No, that's,
Any commission questions, comments?
I guess just to kind of mention something, I thought I wanted to compliment whoever came up with the idea and that would develop the staff for the right-of-way exchange for the street further south and end up being a newly graded street versus attempting to with the street that was there. And I thought that that was a real good plan. We've seen some success of that. We've also seen some, in our community, we've seen some other cases where it can be really slow and tedious should the properties that are adjacent to it, that it's sharing the future road with, not developed as quickly. So, but I thought it was a really great solution. Appreciate that. I did indeed have some concerns and sent a question to staff in advance just because I didn't want to play stump the band with them, which is, I guess, a dated term. But I didn't want to. But in any case, historically, when we've gone into a new area, we tend to give great deference to the developer that comes in first and then kind of works out to make sure things interconnect with what has already been started. When this project first started, and we started to look at some of those documents, we thought that they were the first developer. Now they aren't. The developments to the north are actually the first ones in, and I wanted to see what the future plan was for filling in rec trails and roads between the two developments, because our comprehensive plan maps are quickly becoming obsolete as we get platted areas for that. So that's part of the reason for this this, and I appreciate your quick reaction to that. And with this area, we have seen lots of different plans for the rec trail going up the west side, having trails out of the northwest corner. And now it's looking like that is going to be more focused on moving past back east to 44th Street. And that makes me a little uncomfortable that people that are living, you know, over a half mile west to get to the regional park have to go, you know, over a half mile west to a busy street, and I don't like rec trails along busy streets to start with, and then go further north and loop back. So I'm hoping something will develop as we move further north here to hopefully extend the rec trail that comes out of the northwest corner of the commercial section without having to have the residents of this development go all the way out 40th Street. And also just a phasing concern, but I mean, I understand how it's going to be done that way. The majority of the rec trail is actually on the commercial property. And so that means that these residents of this community won't really have access to anything from a rec trail perspective until that commercial section develops and that rec trail in the commercial area gets developed. But I understand why it's there and it makes sense. And anyway, just some concern.
Any other comments, questions? Motions?
I'll make a motion that we recommend to council approval of the Antler Ridge amended preliminary plat, subject to engineers' comments and staff's comments and questions dated April 10th, 2024.
Second.
Roll call?
Olfest,
Yes.
Sires,
Yes.
Hankins,
Yes.
Bowersox,
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. If you want to hand out the rest of the ice cream, now would be the time to do it. Item 10, R2A zoning district modification. City engineer report.
So we're back at it again. So this one, we're actually asking you to approve the amendments. So we've updated our memo to hopefully reflect some of the comments, questions, and discussion we had on the previous trips to planning and zoning, as well as we've provided you with the marked up sections of the zoning code that would correspond to the changes that we're recommending. We believe that these encompass your comments, concerns, previous discussions. I guess would entertain any comments, questions, discussion. One thing worth noting is that the private streets I thought was in the zoning ordinance. It is not. It's in the subdivision ordinance. But we did update this to reference to the subdivision ordinance, and then we'll clean. Staff's still working out some of the logistics of administering private streets, how we want to handle that moving forward. So that'll be in front of you potentially at some other point in time. But those comments, questions, concerns are well heard, and we're still working through some details on this.
Any comments? Questions?
into it. I know it took a lot of time. Don't really have any comments.
Is it possible, on these maps for you to identify a little easier, what the colors, what areas, what zone?
Just a legend, kinda.
Well, yeah, there's a legend here, but it's not, it doesn't tell me whether it's an R.
The zoning description
Yeah.
is what you're looking for.
Yeah, and I've asked for this in past years. And, Kathleen said, yeah, you can do it.
Which map could you show? me?
Well, it's
Future
looking like
land use
this
plan?
here.
Oh, yeah,
Just a little easier
Yeah.
to look at it, and
yeah.
it never got done. I'm sure she just didn't mean to not do it, but,
I think we do have a version that has a better legend.
I think
let's
that,
email that out.
yeah, I think the title of this is incorrect. This is the future streets. I'm sorry. We use the future land use as a basis, and so, yeah, this is the future streets map, but I can send you, a clean version of the future land use plan.
just next time we meet.
What I would say is I'll probably wait until the Antler Ridge stuff that we just talked about is cleaned up. Then I can send you a clean new one so that we're working off of the most current stuff for you guys. And we'll get a new one on the hydro as well.
And that would have it on it also. I can't see from here whether it does.
Yeah, it's under the calendar. The legend is.
Yeah, and whenever we're to a point where we're updating stuff on a wall that's, big and we expect to be semi-permanent for a while, if we could have a link updated on the website as well, the city website, so that residents can kind of see what the status of things are. Because that's where I send people that have questions.
As you should.
Yeah.
I appreciate you not sending them to staff. Because if they can answer their own questions, it's like, well, easier.
So you're looking for an actual motion on this one then?
Yep. And then we will write the ordinance accordingly.
And I'll go ahead and make a motion that we recommend to council changing the R2A zoning district modification rules or regulations as presented to us from staff, their document dated April 10, 2024.
Second.
Roll call?
Narsex,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Olfest,
Yes.
Sayers,
Yes.
Jenkins.
Yes.
Item passes. Item 11, reports and particulars, council liaison.
Just a couple things. I think the last time I was here, I mentioned that we had RFPs out for the property at 3rd Davis, soliciting interested developers to give a proposal for a project that they would recommend there, be interested in purchasing the lot, all of that kind of stuff. So, and there was a group that then evaluated the proposals that we received. And ultimately, their recommendation to council was to not accept any of the bids that we had received at this time. They didn't quite, I think, meet exactly what we were hoping for. So we were very appreciative of the developers that did submit proposals. I was thankful of the group. They upheld our word, well, helped us uphold our word, which was if we're going to sell that property, we want it to really be something that we think, is going to be the right thing for our community. So we maybe had a high bar there of what we were looking for, but without being kind of specific. So I think we may go back out again for an RFP at some point in time with some more specifics on our end or a little more guidance to developers as far as what we would be looking for. But at this time, we haven't necessarily directed staff to put it out there again or take additional steps. There was talk of potentially getting an appraisal on the ground or a traffic impact study, the city initiating rezoning so that the developer wouldn't have to do that. So those three things would eliminate some of the unknowns that would have been there for potential developers. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think at this time we're just kind of letting it sit for a minute, but may revisit it again in the future. So that's where that is for now.
Can I ask
oh,
a question
yeah.
about that? Are you telling developers what you feel is right for that?
So, and I wasn't part of the group that gave the feedback. So I think in the RFP, we had indicated kind of what we would like, which I think was a mixed use property with some residential and some retail type of
Okay.
property there.
So they know that
Mhm.
when they do it.
Yep, but as they gave proposals, they gave what they thought would be feasible for
I
the
see.
property too.
Okay.
So there were a number of things, I think, like I said, each of the proposals that just weren't quite to the point where the group that evaluated them said, yes, this is, we recommend moving with this, so.
Thank
you.
If I could just throw out a comment
Yeah.
as well. Earlier tonight, we talked about, changing zoning on prairie land and how it's easy to look at different colors on a map now and see how that it could work. I view things like that a lot differently than changing zoning on land that has houses next to it, where those houses were purchased when not zoned that way. And so I think in the decision the city makes, it would be nice to have those residents included in the decision type of commercial property that goes in there. I think all of us would like to see more commercial in our community. But in that decision, I'm not sure what kind of a group is working on this, but I think from my perspective, if I get a room full of people that are backing to that property, not liking what's being done, I'm gonna be listening to them. It's not like somebody who buys a house next to a railroad track or somebody that buys a house next to some empty property that's been zoned commercial for 30 years. Those people are gonna experience a change and need to be included in the decision.
Good feedback.
What is it zoned right now? I'm just curious. No,
R2.
And so
Like I said-
we interrupted your presentation.
No, you're good. I was waiting to see if there's anything else on this subject, because I do appreciate hearing your feedback. That, like I said, that is good feedback, and yeah, like I said, we'll see where the direction goes from here, but for now, it's just,
yeah, it'll be a special developer that does that. I agree with what you're saying. I mean, that's such a highly visible spot. It'd be nice to have a little commercial in there, but also the residents around it are gonna be highly impacted, so I'd want to be careful about that.
Yeah, like they thought maybe Hy-Vee was,
Yeah.
so that's not where McDonald's is.
No.
we know nothing about a McDonald's going into that location, although that was
Oh,
fun to
I've
watch
heard
the
all
comments,
sorts of
wasn't it?
things, all sorts of people. It's gonna go here, it's gonna go there.
Yes, I do not have a council update on McDonald's. That's that. No, anything else on that before I move on to just a lot of quick updates, so. Okay, we had a work session, and one of the takeaways from that work session is it's time to get ready to do our next CIP, the next 5 years worth of planning in the future. So Chelsea has given us our list of projects. All of the council members need to evaluate those and get back our feedback. So we will be working on an updated CIP that council members are currently evaluating. A long list of projects that we have for consideration. The other, another noteworthy thing from our work session we had was that we talked about our sign ordinance. We made several changes to our sign ordinance several years ago. So just kind of taking another look back at that, I think the changes that were put in place then were for a couple reasons. To just kind of keep clutter cleaned up a little bit in general, but you don't want a lot of distractions when you're driving. I think there is an interest from council to at least lessen some of the restrictions for nonprofit organizations that have community event kind of things. I know Chelsea is talking to our city attorney, it sounds like, to figure out, if we can deviate or differentiate between nonprofits and businesses, but just want to let you guys know that we are taking another look at our sign ordinance. There may be proposed changes coming, but we'll see.
That's for temporary signage, right?
Yes, temporary signage, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I know where part of that came from. But you know, even if there was a time limit on it, that, you know, it would be allowed for 3 weeks or whatever. I know that was a concern. It was proliferation all over town, and they were up for months,
Mhm.
and that's why we did it.
Yeah,
And it makes sense.
yeah, yep, I think, you know, it worked, you know, the changes, we don't have the nuisances and all the clutter,
Sure, yeah.
but yes, trying to find that right balance of,
Good.
not have inadvertent negative impact.
Good.
Can you do anything about Jenny going around and stealing for sale signs? Right of ways?
Right of ways are,
Took me 2 days to track down.
I know.
We're not changing what goes in the right of way, so keep it out of the right.
What did we decide, state or federal? State code, so the state code doesn't allow anything in right of ways, period. So, that's beyond me, I just am the enforcer. Or was, now that's someone else.
You had to track it down?
Always call me, I might know.
Maybe if you send a fine with a return address, so find
Oh,
it.
I don't know who the sign belongs to.
I had my telephone number on it. I called and I take it down. No, she got in a pickup truck, she went all over town by herself, threw them all in the back of the pickup truck, took them to the public place.
I did not, he's making that up, it was public.
And you know what, it was still, and they hadn't tossed it yet. So I got it back, I just put it back up.
You've got something to do after the meeting, so. City manager,
I don't have any.
nothing?
Thank
You bet. Staff? Commission?
Two quick things. This is somewhat of a joke, but we did pick up a 1/10 of an acre commercial there tonight. And
Yeah.
You notice that?
Boom.
That was something we fought for. And I was gonna say, Ron, if you get tired of making motions, you gotta let us know.
No,
That's what happens.
blinders
when you
on,
do a good job.
blinders on.
So good.
Thank you for doing it.
Just I guess a quick question since Travis brought it up, but what are the types of things that you guys are still, that staff is considering, for private streets for changes?
So in discussion, so I have called the principal engineer at the city of West Des Moines for development, as well as the development manager or development engineers manager at the city of Nankin. And their codes both require private streets to match public standards, but they do not inspect and they do not require any sort of assurance that those specs are being met. So we're trying to sift through, are we going to be the only community that would require private streets to be built to public standards and inspected, or do we just alter the code to be up to public standards and then we have no reassurances? I think our recommendation, regardless of the changes we make, is we would still adamantly advocate for, if a developer chooses to do a private street, the city does not consider taking ownership of that street under any circumstances, for a number of reasons. Part of the reason developers do a private street is our code requires lesser setbacks. It allows rolled curbs. It may not if we make the change to public standard. But then typically the storm sewer is also private and was not inspected. So I think there is a lot of inherent risk in cities taking over improvements that were constructed to be private entities without having any sort of assurance as to what quality.
We request that a developer provide a bond on that work from the builder, that we get a copy of the bond that goes to the developer, like we would on a public.
We certainly could. I'm not knowledgeable enough in terms of the developers' agreements with their contractors to know that if on private improvements like that, bonds are provided. I am not.
They may not be, but I'm saying maybe we put that in. Oh,
Yeah,
You will need to do that.
and that's what I wanted to work through, is I wanna be sure that whatever we recommend to this commission, recommend to council, is not only, in the city's best interest, but because I think there is an inherent risk in, if you make your code too stringent, you can stymie some of the developments you want. So there's that balancing act, and I think the commission's concerns about private streets are well founded. I think it's an important topic to delve into. We want to make sure that we're not, acting, reacting over and over again, trying to find the right place to land.
And I'm certainly aware of or have a realistic view of what the city's role is, what they should be involved in, and what they should wash their hands of. And, and what we have going on with regards to the specifications that are uninspected is everybody on the front end has clips a coupon if it's not done right, and nobody realizes that they clipped this coupon and it was built substandard for 10 years when it's somebody else's problem. Is that the city's thing to correct? Is, I guess, the question that I'm unsure of. I'm not sure that, is that the city's role? But that's one of the problems that is going on. And also, I certainly understand that once you can't accept, in my opinion, a street that you did not inspect and wasn't built to code. I would have a concern, and I think Kathleen was certainly convinced that a standard curb on a sidewalk that is at the curb is a accident waiting to happen. When you look at the narrow lots of a development that's likely to go in there, it's half driveway, half lawn, and it's all apron of the driveway coming out. So if you're walking up the sidewalk, I live on this street. If you go look at it, I mean, it's just it's ankle breaking waiting to happen for anybody that uses the sidewalk. And we use the street. Nobody uses the sidewalk.
Yeah.
But the roll up curb seems safe. A lot safer than the standard high curb.
And I think that oftentimes what we're finding as we do more and more studies in traffic calming is the more atypical you make something, the less dangerous it is. So I think the fact that those rolled curbs are not super common helps you with that. I think the lesser setbacks of the homes help you with that. And then the fact that you don't have, because I think there is a perception that if you put a 6-inch curb between a vehicle and a sidewalk, there is a vertical separation component that the vehicle operator almost washes their hands of the necessity to be cognizant of people being right on the back of the curb. I think and just so you guys are kind of aware of what's going on in our industry, there's a lot of communities that are, instead of, for a long time we were expanding, right? We were adding lanes, more pavement. There's a lot of communities now that are going through road deficits. The city of Des Moines just put over $7 million into the 6th Avenue streetscape, taking it from a 4-lane section down to 1 in each direction with a shared center lane. And that's all in the vein of understanding traffic safety and trying to minimize the number of decisions a driver has to make. So that 6th Avenue example, the outside lanes were part-time parking lanes. And so there were a lot of rear ends and side swipes and all sorts of stuff because you never knew if a vehicle was parked, if they were getting ready to move, if they were actually moving. There was a lot of decision points on that corridor, and that's why the city pointed that. So I think the kind of the going trend right now is make a road atypical, and I think that's kind of why we've done the roll in the past. Is it gives somebody something else to be aware of that they may not be 100%.
taken up enough of your time.
Yeah, well, you know, I kind of think that the city is here to serve the citizens and taxpayers. And the city isn't here to serve the city. The city is served the way. I understand all the problems with the public and private part, but I still think it's okay to say that you're required to do this, because I think for the most part, we have pretty good developers, contractors, and they will do that. We will have some who, you know, won't. But there are ways of proving whether if we need to go back. For instance, you can do a core drill on a street, and you may have to do a few if you don't find any re-rod or something like that. But I think the direction you're going is okay, and I understand what you're saying. That there's an added burden there too that we have to be careful of, and so you know, I think we ought to require it, but enforcing it or checking it or doing whatever we need to do there, I can understand. You know, be a little active afterwards, I guess, if we need to be. So, which is up here where Ace Hardware is going. Had you required that, and there was concern about it, then at least, you know, somebody at least could have gone back. And I guess it'd be the responsibility of the city to prove they didn't do it. It required them, but it's not a big deal to do a court drill.
Does the city require a 2-year maintenance bond on public street for? So that's what I'm, and I don't know what they cost. That's the only thing I don't know. To address your concern about do we inspect on private streets, I'd have to research what the cost of those bonds are, but if you could say to a developer, okay, you do the private street, but you need to have your contract provide you, developer, a 4-year bond, just like we do in the city. We want a copy of it. What that does is it makes the contractor a little more cognizant and aware that, hey, 4 years, this thing fails, I'm going back, so I'm going to do a better job up front. That's what I was suggesting as a potential, and then we don't have inspection fees, we don't have.
I don't know if the 4 years would really get what you're looking for there a lot of times.
Well, if it settles.
If it's
If you're gonna minor.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a situation where it's gonna catch. I mean, when I was talking to, his name's Ben McAllister at the city of West Des Moines, he said they have private streets that fail. And they're adding way too much water to the mix, they're not putting steel where they're supposed to, they're driving all sorts of construction traffic, all that kind of stuff. I think the bond would pick up some of the major workmanship flaws, but if they shortchange you an inch of concrete, I'm not so sure that it'll catch that, but at the same time.
It wouldn't get it all, but it might be a way to take a step in that direction without a lot of burden.
And likely in 4 years, the contractor is still owning the association.
Right.
And, yeah.
It's just a thought.
Well, bonds don't cost that much money, first of all. We do multi-million-dollar buildings, and we put bonds on, they don't really cost that much. And the other thing is that the developer isn't paying the bond anyway.
True.
It's whoever buys the house or
That's
whatever
true.
it is, so.
Passes it right through. Yeah. And I don't think it'd be a big burden to do that on a public street.
No.
Public. Just a thought.
Then who's still gonna enforce that? The city's gonna enforce that, or the
You just have to-
association, really, it should be up to, right? Or else you're still.
I know of many cases in the city of Des Moines where condo developments associations have sued the builder. I mean, that's really the city should not be involved.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Who does that bond go to? It really should be required to go to the association.
But if it's just a 4-year bond, I'm not sure the residents of the association have the association yet. It's really the builder, and it's likely not being handed off to the residents at that point in time. Most of these developments take more than, I mean, from the date of the first thing to go in is the street.
There's probably been a lot of them. The builder may not even be in place at that point anymore.
Well, that's where mine was.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I ended up.
So I think there's a lot of questions there to figure out.
I'd be happy to make a motion to adjourn.
All right,
I'll make a motion.